Realize that during the other era, people thought that it may never happen. But eventually, when the government goes back to its planning and realizes here, we need a bypass so that we can be able to decongest, for example, Nairobi in these areas. What are we saying? That the planning had been done, but along the way, we as the people now started again disorganizing whatever had been planned. Let me also say that there has been a failure on the side of the government. We have lacked political goodwill because most of the grabbing has been done by people in government. They're the ones who have been grabbing land, either in the county councils or in the national government. They're the ones who have been taking this land. So it is now from that point that Groots Kenya now comes in, because after realizing that probably there's no goodwill, political goodwill from the government, then we get involved as the communities, so that now we can say we want to safeguard this land because we want to make use of it in future. You'll go to some areas and people would want to come up, for example, with a dispensary, like I mentioned, Gashoide. I go to Gashoide, I want to put up an office for the chief and a dispensary. And when I ask the chief, I'm told there's no land. I have to go and buy land. But indeed, somebody has grabbed that particular portion, which was unmarked for that particular purpose then. We have seen the crashes that have happened in this country. It is all about land. We saw what happened in 2008. Many issues were all on land, meaning that sanity must come back. You know, as a country, we must be able to come back and say that we are going to put our house in order. And after the National Accord was signed, the government with the Prime Minister and President Kibaki, I think that's where the issue of the National Land Commission also came in, that indeed we needed that, so that we can be able to correct what we were calling the historical injustices. The historical injustices are probably where community land had been taken and some communities were left without land, or even the grabbing of the public utilities that we are talking about. It's unfortunate, as I mentioned earlier, that we have had reports, the Jonjo report, whatever, and all these, the Jonjo and Dongo report, which have never been made use of. It would be unfortunate if Groots Kenya would come up with this kind of a report, and then we are not able to make use of it, or we let it gather dust somewhere. So the way forward, I think from there, first I would like to thank Groots Kenya for what they have done in Lari sub-county. We are happy as the people of Lari to have been the pioneers, you know, because this has started in our sub-county. We are now able to tell that this is public land. We've already started the process of recovering some of these pieces. And I think for us as the people of Lari also, Madam Esther says that 70% of the local community are aware of the land that may have been grabbed or whatever is public land. But I think for the DCC and everybody else, we need to go a step further and make sure that the public, everybody, let's talk about 100%, all our people are aware that this is public land. So anybody encroaching on the same, it is the public that is going to protect. Because again, as we said, lack of goodwill from the government, the councils then, probably the county government now, we may get back into the same problem. Let me also thank my people, the people of Lari who got involved, the women who got involved in this. I think you have shown a very, very good example. You have really shown that we can make it. Previously, people used to say that Lari is the backwaters of Kiambu politics. And now we are no longer, we are leading, aren't we? Yeah. Yes, we are no longer the backwaters because we are there. We are showing them the way, that this is the way to go in terms of managing our land and whatever else that's to be done. So those people who are involved, I want to take this opportunity to thank you very much. In Lari, we are not going to have any demonstrations, we are not going to have any injunction, petitions, and whatever else, litigations in court, because we are there as a public who are going to insist that this is our land and we are going to protect it. As I said, we have already made use of some of the pieces of land which have been identified, and you know, way forward, we are going to do the same. Groots Kenya, let's roll this out to other sub-counties, and I'm happy that Kiambu, we are here, we can be able to go to Loiro, as Madam said, or go to Limuru. I'm sure you're having a lot of problems at home, why you have not done it there. let us roll it out. And the rolling it out, sisi kutoka Lari tunasema tumeiva, because we have been there. Si tumeiva? Kama tumekuweko, we have done it, we can come out there and show you how to do it. This time around. So use our people so that we can be able to move on together. I think what has been done indeed is a good idea. Something that was mentioned about County Land Management Board. It is my darling, because it has given me problems in Kenari. And my friend here was telling the commissioner, I think you read the National Land Act, and he's telling the commissioner that in consultation, the National Land Commission and the county governments are supposed to work together. And the commissioner said that they have already done the interviews. That's what you say, the commissioner. They have already done the interviews and they have already forwarded the names to the county government. All you're supposed to do is to take them to the county assembly for debate, for vetting, whatever the process, and then these people will start working for the county. So I think the National Land Commission has done its part. It is now for the county government of Kiambu, through the governor, taking it to the county assembly, and you're going to have a board that is going to help us to sort out most of the issues that we have. I was also happy to listen to Atimo saying that Kiambu County is a respecter of the people. It's a very strong word. The respecter of the people listens to the views of the people. I hope these are not just words. We want to see this happening. Listen to us because we are there. We are the people of Kiambu. Listen to us so that we can be able to move forward. Let us not be left by other counties which are probably progressing because they have already been able to do what needs to be done. Let us move together, listen to us, implement whatever views we have so that we can be able to move with the other counties, and we can actually indeed be county number one, as we would say, because we have maybe the presidency. Let us be county number one also in terms of implementing and doing whatever needs to be done. So there are many land laws, as the commissioner said, that need to be repealed so that we can have the Community Land Act start working, the issues of agriculture. And I think I've not seen them in the National Assembly. Commissioner?
Yeah, the Community Land Bill is in the National Assembly.
Yes.
The other ones, the amendments to the Land Act, the Land Restriction Act, the National Land Commission Act, are with the Land Council. Some of them are with the Land Committee already, but some of them are still with the CS because she doesn't want to push it.
Oh, okay. You have heard that, huh? The CS in charge of land is sitting on some of these laws, because we actually need to have them in place so that the boards that we have, the sub-counties, now we can be able to stop using them and start using, following the law as it is. So let me end there by saying thank you very much, Groots Kenya, for coming to Lari. And as I've said, we are there as the people of Lari. Tumeiva, tuko tayari. We want to work with the others. We want to show them how it's done. And my people from Lari, let us not be just another project. Let us not be something that we are doing in futility, meaning that we mark the lands, we do the mapping, and then we let the land be grabbed. Let us all work together to ensure that wherever you come from, whatever you know is public land, we retain it so that we can be able to use it for purposes of factory and whatever else, factory for the value addition that we are talking about. We make use of that land by protecting it ourselves. So thank you very much, everybody who got involved, and indeed for choosing Lari to be the sub-county where to start this project. Thank you very much.
Asante Mheshimiwa, thank you so much. It was a good remarks. Thank you so much. We are almost coming to the end of. Can you ask yourself what you will remember before when you leave this world? Somebody, I know there is a pastor. Please, to obey.
I'm Pastor Moreni, to obey. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, we thank you and we appreciate you. Thank you for protection. Thank you for provisions. Thank you for everything that we have received from this place. As we leave our Father, we pray that you may give us journey mercies, and also that you may bless all the organizations, those who made it possible for us to come. and also discuss and learn. Thank you for everything, and it's in Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen. Thank you.
Meetings adjourned.
Thank you, Ms. Njoki. And once again, I wish to greet you all. Good morning. As indicated, my name is Mwaki Philip. I'm an elected member in a ward called Shianda in Kiambu County, in Kiambu County. And I'm also the chair of Public Accounts Committee, Public Accounts and Investments Committee of Kiambu County. I know when we are talking of public accounts nowadays, it raises a lot of eyebrows because of what has been developed, the Public Accounts Committee in the National Assembly. But I want to assure you that in our county, and I believe in the various county assemblies, that they are trying their best not to get into what the Public Accounts Committee of the National Assembly has gotten itself into. We shall not learn that way. We shall go differently. So I wish to take maybe this opportunity to thank Groots Kenya. They've done a tremendous job, and also the ladies in the administration at the ground level. I want to look at what Groots Kenya has done in terms of community participation, because that is key in our constitution. Because they've actually gone down and looked at and done participation the way it's supposed to be done. Because without the goodwill of the communities, it will be absolutely impossible to get what the communities want. It will be very hard for them to actually implement most of these policies. And over time, what has actually gone wrong is that governments, or maybe the government officials, have not entirely sought the community in terms of their participation so that they can be able to assist them. When people get into government, they think that they know it all. But the people down there are the ones who actually have what it takes. They're the ones who know what was there, what's supposed to be there, county assemblies. If you look at the Article 174 of the Constitution of Kenya, it talks about the objects of devolution. And when you look at the objects of devolution, it's actually promoting accountability and democratic principles within government, and also at the grassroots level. So I think, and when you go down and look at what devolution is all about, devolution was actually tailored to bring the services closer to the people. Lari has actually come out very well from Kiambu, that once they've done that, once funds have been allocated by the county assembly, then it is upon them to ensure that that is implemented, because it is the executive that does the implementation. Then once that is implemented, then the county executive will then, the county assembly will then come again and do the oversight of the work that has been done on the ground. And with the help of the community, then we can be able to do a very good job. And I can tell you that if we do this, then the services that we need to be closer to the people, we are going to have them, and we are going to have very good services. And on top of that, we're going to be having very good structures. In terms of, if you look at previously, we used to have, be having some very shoddy job that was being done. But now, it is coming out very clearly that the people need good job, because they realize that it is their money. It is your money that is being done. It is not government money. It's actually your money that is being brought back to you. So in terms of allocation of funds, we know we are doing very well, and we are doing a lot. So all ward representatives, all MCAs have got the responsibility when they are representing their people to ensure that they identify what is important to them. And they do this in consultation with the people who are on the ground, that is their communities, because we are not doing this for ourselves, but we are doing this for the whole of that community and for the benefit of them. And we do know that over time, then we are going to be able to get very good results from that. Over the weekend, I had a meeting with the Finance Committee and Budget Committee of the Senate in Naivasha. And one of the problems that they're going through, one of the challenges that we do have.
Yeah, thank you very much. The conveners of this meeting, the MCs present, and other colleagues, good morning. Jambu. Thank you. Starting from what was presented, the first presentation, what is coming out clearly is that we are coming from a dispensation that has been bureaucratic. Land laws, which are so many, acts of parliament that are so many, but are not sensitive to what is happening on the ground. That was actually come out very clearly from the first presenter, and we need to ask ourselves, why are we having so many laws that are not really friendly to the people on the ground? From the national level, we have acts like the Physical Planning Act. We also have other laws that guide surveyors. We also have laws that deal with land management, land taxation, dispute resolution, and development control. And when you come down to the people, the opportunity now has presented itself through devolution. How do you engage the people? And this is a very good initiative where Groots have started it all by kind of setting the rules of the game. And how do you set these rules of the game? Is by coming up with mechanisms that encourage orderly orderly development and the land markets. When you talk of the land markets, you are very familiar with the land grabbing was happening because land is really, really lucrative. And everyone would like to place his or her hands on anything that can be able to bring in money or settle comfortably. By what Groots has done here, you have created a consumer-oriented way of engaging the people. And it's good you started with Lari because Lari is where you have a lot of open land, unlike other counties in Kiambu, which border Nairobi, where a lot of developments are taking place with very little planning or very little professional input. And you realize that, and I'm sure this has been identified when you are carrying out your mapping, and especially on what you call T-plots, which were planned way back in the 50s and 60s, not bearing in mind that Africans would be able to have motorized systems. Very small plots that do not have access, because when we're talking about public land, we are talking about also accessibility. And we need to have a society that is sensitive by realizing that if you're having, or if you're being requested to reserve some public land for the public good, you appreciate it. I don't know whether as you are doing this, these are some of the things you are sensitizing the members of the public in ensuring that now that you're going forward and having a higher population and urbanizing, and for your information, Kiambu is the third fastest urbanizing county in the Republic. So Kiambu stands to set the pace. If you look into some of the developments that are happening on the periphery of Nairobi and Kiambu, and a good example is Ruaka. You've seen many high-rise developments that have taken place there. Do they have ample roads? The answer is no. Do they have sufficient public utilities, schools, health centers, and the like? The answer is no. But is that the way to go for other counties? So I think the counties who are represented here and others, Kiambu stands out to be the best example where you can learn practically and the hard way. It has also been mentioned here that the land grabbing menace is really ingrained in our society. But it goes beyond individuals, it also goes to the professionals. Here we are talking about the landed professionals, planners, architects, land surveyors. Of late they're calling them the landed professionals. Unlike our landed friends, if you recall what they did on Saturday. This could be a reflection of also what the landed professionals are doing, because behind every grabbing, there must have been a professional who participated in it. So we need to come up with a mechanism where even the grassroots, people at the grassroots, when you're working with the people at the grassroots, you're able to have professionals who have the integrity, and also to be able to explain to the residents, to the people on the ground, the values of having public land for the benefit of the public. Some of the measures that Kiambu County has taken into account is planning for space. Space matters from an individual level to the society and even globally. Ruiru, Limuru, and others which are heavily populated. So Kiambu is moving another level to go and prepare detailed plans for those areas. And you need to have proper interconnection. You cannot be able to move your goods and services within Kiambu County without having good road networks, which have to be planned for, or people moving in from the metropolitan region and connecting with other areas. So those are some of the things that Kiambu is putting in place. Coming back to the community level, we know there are some lands that were grabbed, have not been constructed, or have not been put into the use that was intended. We have mechanisms in place to get it back and put it to the use that was intended in the first place. And we can only do that by either surveying altogether or re-establishing beacons and even fence, and we find some of those parcels have already been settled on. And people are asking themselves, we bought a piece of land here, we have put up a house, where do our children go to school? And other facilities. We need to go and assist those neighborhoods to regularize their settlements, but also ensure if there was anything that was left out, acquire in the interest of the people living around it. You don't have to be driving from one estate, kilometers very far away, when very well that your neighborhood ought to have all the facilities that are planned, because many people or some of these land buying companies were not getting the services of the professionals. So we need to create that awareness with our people from the grassroots so that we have well-planned counties. And finally, we need to come up with mechanisms, the rules of engagement, the rules of the game. Members of the county assembly are seated here. It is no longer very difficult to create laws or work on laws. Before they were done at the national level, that is at the national parliament. Now we have our county assemblies where laws can be legislated. And we need to start from the very pressing ones. Planning is one of them. You don't have to continue relying, and I believe the National Land Commission have already done a draft of what they're calling the National Land Bill. You'll be able to hear that from the Commissioner. That takes into account issues at the national level, at the county level, and to the lowest level. So the counties also have a duty to take up from that level on how they're going to cascade it to the people. And I'm glad here it was mentioned that at the ward level we have ward managers or ward administrators, which means the presence of the county is being felt. But it just doesn't have to be felt by having just offices. It needs to be felt by the services they are providing. And what Groots are done is very, very key. So the next level of maybe creating awareness is how best can this land be put into. A neighborhood is normally defined by the character, the quality of housing. And of course, they say image is everything, isn't it? So if you have good quality neighborhoods, people putting up houses that are adhering to the requirements of the building code, it's quite a shame that in Kiambu, that's one of the places we have one of the worst developments. And it's really a shame. And I can say, as you drive along Thika Road, you know, a very, very nice highway that just came the other day. What is coming up there? I don't know whether most of us are, have an appreciation of aesthetics. Is it really something good that you're seeing? Buildings, narrow buildings, very poorly constructed, and I don't think that is the image of Kiambu or the Kiambu we need to come up with. Only last Saturday, someone was mentioning to me, and this I can say in appreciation to Muranga, they were saying, if you want to identify Kiambu, or where the Kiambu boundary ends with Muranga, when you stop seeing the ugly buildings, and you enter into good neighborhoods with the coffee plantation, pineapple and good, you enter in Muranga. So it's not a very good distinction for Kiambu to take the lead in coming up with developments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Katimu, for that eloquent presentation for Kiambu. Now, without further ado, we go to Abdul from the National Commission. Will tell us what they are doing in the scope, having listened to all the presentations.
Thank you, Juki, and good morning, everyone. Once more, all protocols observed. I heard as we sat here in the panel that we'll be having this panel up to 11 o'clock. It's already about 4 minutes past 11, so maybe I don't have any time to say anything. but a lot has been said by my colleagues on the panel, and I'm very happy to be one of them. They have made my work extremely easy because I am their agent. I represent the organization, the NLC, that is the agent of the county government and the national government. And all we are doing is on their behalf. So if they are doing a lot already, it looks like they have gone a mile as we learned to build this institution and struggle in actually doing that with all the problems that you have had on the news media. And we're only 2 years old, and not a very nice 2 years old, a very rough 2 years old, as we grow up and try to walk and fall and trip. I can see the people we are supposed to be agents for are already miles ahead. And they have prepared the groundwork, and I think when the time comes, they will be able to give us something that we can keep for them and we can manage them. Ours is mostly the management and administration of public land, both on behalf of the county and the national government. And sometimes it's very difficult even to know what the exact definition of public land is and which level of government that public land belongs to, whether it is the county government or whether it is the national government. I'm sure everybody here has had time to go through the laws that govern this country now, the new constitution and the enabling legislation, and those very clearly define what public land is and which category of public land belongs which level of government. As we say all the time, as we address forums like this, or as we go about our daily business as usual in the NLC, we know that the public land that is prone to grabbing and that is even available for allocation belongs to the county government, not the national government. And sometimes people even don't know which arm of the national government is supposed to be holding the public land that is under their auspices, and it is mistaken that it is the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development. I think nothing could be further from the truth. Like, for example, the Kenya Forest Service is a public body, and it manages a chunk of land that the people of Kenya has given it to them. And it is that management body that has to manage and make use of the land for which purpose it was given. And the Ministry of Lands has nothing to do with that. So if anything is supposed to happen to that, even if they are going to sell it according to the law that provides them to carry out that kind of transaction, I think it is their prerogative to do that. And we know what the ministry is supposed to do. The laws are very clear on who has to do what. The county governments are key to this. Actually, they are the owners of most of that land, and that's where the process must start. It is them who define what public land is available for allocation. It is them who know what the people want and tell us how to administer that on their behalf. It is them who plan it. It is them who survey it. All we do is just administer the leases and other processes that will lead to registration, which for now, for the time being, very highly contested, but for the time being, lies still with the Ministry of Lands and the Office of the Chief Land Registrar. We have serious problems with that. It doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. It should actually be, and the registrar should be under the county government, because they are the owners of the land, so they should be keeping the register of what they own. All we do is to just manage those things. Now that brings us very quickly to the topic of, then what is the Ministry of Land supposed to do? Or what is it all about in the first place? I think when the people of Kenya went to the polls to usher in the new constitution and then the enabling legislation, it was envisaged that the Ministry of Lands and Settlement, the way it was known, should be reduced to the kind of status that the Ministry of Roads is right now. You know, we have the Ministry of Roads, but then we have Kenya, we have Kura, we have Kera, and we have the cities and the counties doing all kinds of road constructions. So what is the Ministry of Roads supposed to do, apart from establishing policy and making sure that everybody does their job according to either the government's manifesto or the plans that the country has for its vision and development?
That is what the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development is supposed to be, and that's what is actually in law. If you look at Section 6 of the Land Act, it says very clearly, in the Land Act, everybody here has a copy of the Land Act here. If you go to Section 6 of the Land Act, it will tell you very clearly what the Ministry of Lands is supposed to do. So it is there. So take your time to go through that and analyze it, and then. But I think in the rest of Kenya they will find out and continue training. You have prepared the groundwork for us as an inventory for public land, which we are going to inherit. But once you have had the inventory in place, now you start worrying about how to protect it. We must think about how to protect that so that we don't come back. We don't go back to where we came from. Once you have protected the ones that already exist, then we can start claiming the ones that we actually need. We have to replan our towns, we have to replan our counties, we have to replan this. My friend on my left here has said, you can only differentiate, you can only realize you have got out of Kiambu to the neighboring county when the landscape changes. It's not that you get into hills or into valleys, but you just get from one badly planned neighborhood to the next. I think Muranga, you keep that repetition, you improve on it further. I think a lot of other things will come in the questions that will be coming, and I will be prepared to answer them, and I know a lot of them will be thrown in this direction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bwana Commissioner, for that beautiful presentation. We have asked all members to be able to have the questions ready, because after this session there will be question and answer session that will come. Very crucial for us to get clarifications for what we don't know and explain what we know, and much more in terms of dialogues. But now I want to recognize the presence of the Honorable Member of Parliament, Lari. He is already with us here. Joseph Mburu, karibu sana. We are happy that you have been able to make it. Now, I will not attempt to summarize all of what colleagues have said here. Is really deep, and I know all of us have got some inkling. You have all got what they have been able to say, and we shall come up in terms of questions.
Public land all over the country has always been done. Esther was here before, but it was not official. Yeah? And I also give her, because she has been giving us 7 minutes, I also give her now 5 minutes to summarize what has been done, but much more talk about why grassroots women and why they should engage in the local process, why all that. And then Esther will guide us into tea, and maybe the other, yes, and the other maybe the other session. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'll be very quick. I will try even to stay on where do we think we are going from here, because it's also a good reason why grassroots women, as you heard in the morning, that Groots Kenya, by the way, has been in existence for the last 20 years. We are actually a creation of Beijing Conference. And for most of you who may not know, this year is when we are celebrating Beijing plus 20 years. And anytime people ask me, why was it necessary for women to go to Beijing? And I'm always comfortably telling them, if it were not for Beijing, there wouldn't be Groots Kenya. And I say this morning, Groots Kenya has done many other activities and innovations, starting with women leadership and governance, going to issues of dealing with issues of asset stripping among widows and orphans, hoarding, to an extent of developing a model that today is being used in 8 countries in Africa as the model, and in Guatemala and India, what we commonly call the community-led watchdog group. It has been documented globally a lot. We are now working on another model called Champions for Transformative Leadership, and we are developing, and this is important for GEC, we are developing a gender tracking tool on how grassroots women can track how counties are actually adhering to that gender equality. And it will be launched very soon. And we also are very big, particularly in county of Kitui and Nakuru, ensuring that women has access to trade and markets. The women who are farmers, we are privileged to have about $3 million grant from Japan government, which is administered by the World Bank. And I can tell you, I was with women from Nakuru 3 weeks ago, where they negotiated a contract of 4 to 6 tons every week of potato to a private sector. Women farmers, they've done a lot. And we are also very involved in Moi Basin, in the coal mining, where we are supporting women to lead their communities to map the amount of assets they own, so that they can be proactive in saying this is the kind of compensation we want. They are not waiting for the private sector and the government to tell them we will compensate you this much. But Groots Kenya values that the community need to be able to say, this is the assets I own, this is the amount that they cost, and I want you to compensate. Because we know, and we were told by the National Land Commission in another meeting, I was here, and the CS of land, that communities who are sitting on areas that have minerals, they will move. So that's not negotiable. But how they will move is what matters. And as an organization, we are preparing the community to move in a way. There will be one, be compensated in the right way, be relocated in the right way, and they can have benefit sharing over a long time over those resources. So we've been doing a lot of other work elsewhere, but we are also very proud that we are doing this public land. And so as you heard, the grassroots women are very clear that if there are no basic services that are accessible, that are affordable, that is adequate, schools, public hospitals, even public cemeteries, that is the women that suffers the most. They shoulder the highest burden, and that's why land matter, public land matters to them. It's a new dispensation, like Mr. Gatimo said, that they didn't know. Women thought it's only men who can talk about public land. But now they know, women in Lari, they know that it's actually their responsibility to guide their community to proper management and administration of public land, but within the law that they are set up. Now, where do we think we are going? And as you raise the question to the panelists when we come from T, let me say 5 key things we think, and I really like, because Mr. Khalif already underscored some of the things ahead. One is we think that it's very important for the national government through the National Land Commission to appreciate why our constitution emphasizes on public participation. And one way to demonstrate that we understand public participation is ensuring that wherever we are doing the inventory of public land, that process will be led by grassroots community. So we negotiated, and we've been talking to the National Land Commission to think through how do we give accreditation to the women and the men of Raleigh who have been doing this work, so that if you send them to Marsabit, then there is an understanding they can do the job. And we can test their capacity. We do know that there is a possibility to strengthen this. Dr. Kuria has told us it needs to be strengthened, but we would like to see an appreciation of the Kenya government on why public participation matters, by allowing experts, community experts, to be part of the process. So we hope that we can continue that discussion. We are also looking at Kiambu County. Thank you, Mr. Gatimo. We think it is one thing to do a model in one constituency. I think the Member of Parliament, you must be very happy. You have all the land now, published for you for free. But we are saying to the Kiambu County, you have other 11 sub-counties. Can you lead the county the country by ensuring you can now replicate the model in the next 11 counties? That will mean we used donor money wholly to do work in Lari County. I think in moving forward, it is not right to use wholly donor money to map the rest of the country. The sub-county of Kiambu should be able to actually put money. And we can complement, we can go looking for money. I'm sure many donors will be happy to complement a process where the other government is also putting money. Of course, the MCA of Kiambu, the members of County Assembly, we've been dialoguing with them since last year. They have already put a motion to the member of the Kiambu County. We now want them to move to the legislation. How do we support the Kiambu County to have a legislation that actually demands we do now public land mapping in Kiambu County? And of course, we are hoping that we have people here from Murang'a. We already have started a dialogue. Actually, one of the things I'm very impressed about Murang'a County, one of the things that they say, Duncan, is that don't even tell us you don't have money to help us. First of all, show us how to do it. Then we can think about where to get the money. So we are in that dialogue with Murang'a County, and we hope that the Murang'a County will be the next county to be able to also demonstrate how this works. Thank you, Murang'a. We hope we can work together. We also hope that we have had official requests from 2 other counties. Kakamega County actually have put through an official request. I know the governor of Nakuru has asked us, but we are very clear. We did a model which we discussed with the National Land Commission so that they can uptake it and so that it can be part of the standards and they are called standards and what? Where is guidelines? Standards and guidelines that they are developing. And they've been very kind enough. Last week they invited us to present this so that it can be part of their standards and guidelines in developing public land. Of course, I can see a lot of our partners are not here, but there are many civil society here. We are also embracing, I know some of you, our brothers and sisters in this work. We hope that this is a way to demonstrate how can we work in a way that the communities are leading the process. So we do hope that, especially when we do that with the civil society, and also
take a cup of tea, take like
Groots Kenya is doing a good job identifying the land. We have had other reports. We have the Jonjo report, we have the Dongo report, which are all gathering dust somewhere in government offices. Some work we're doing in futility, meaning that at the end of the day, all that has been done, donor money, all the effort has been put in place by the communities. And then at the end of the day, the government is not able to come in to implement and to help us implement the same. So maybe coming from the NOMO and the General Commission, are we moving anywhere with what has been done by Groots Kenya so far?
And the physical planning in Murang'a County. Mine is to really appreciate what Groots has done for Lari. And some of the Groots members or founders, actually we work together in Urban Development Department in various projects. So I can see their bright brains behind Groots, and I thank you very much, Esther. Now, I would like to make 1 or 2 comments. Murang'a County actually would really appreciate to have such a program within the county. Reason being that, as my chairman had ably indicated, we have actually gone ahead in terms of trying to establish the public lands within Murang'a. There is political will, as already been indicated by the chairman. And now that we have the community initiative that can be replicated in Murang'a, we will have a 3-tier kind of body that will be able to move this agenda forward. This is really a welcome opportunity, and I really would like to thank Groots Kenya and the donors who are behind this project. But in terms of legislation, I think that needs to be done so that the activities are legislated, and that the county governments give this initiative a proper backing and also have the necessary resources for this project. So I would like to thank you very much. I've spoken because I would like to leave in a few minutes, but I thought it's wise that I indicate that we are in full support, and I'll tell my governor about the same. Thank you.
Asante, thank you so much. A question from this side.
My first question is to the MP for Lari. I think he should be in the panel. I'm sure the people from Lari will ask him questions.
Okay, very good.
Now that the women and men in Lari have identified parcels of land in Lari, and some of them are idle, through your CDF, what is it that you're going to do to put those identified parcels of land into proper use? And when I look at this booklet, I see some of it is occupied by private people. And I think using your position, you can easily scare some of them out of those parcels. Is that something that you're committing to do for the people of Lari? My next question is to Mr. Gatimu. Some of the people who grab land are actually the same people who are supposed to implement the policies to safeguard it. How, as a government, and maybe even to the commissioner, do you deal with that dilemma?
Thank you, Frida. A very important question. I will go here. The last one, this one was a committee.
Although I'm not from Kiambu, I'm from Laikipia, I have seen as if that problem can also crop in other places, because I don't know the mechanism that you are going to use very soon as far as the illegal division of the land is concerned. Because even from the radio and the media, we normally hear that if you want a good land, go to Kiambu, because they divide the plots and they move like hot cakes. So I am wondering now the mechanism that you are going to use, because the women are going to suffer. If that division will continue, it seems as if we will be homeless, and our children, I don't know now the quick action that you are going to take. Please, I would want to know.
First of all, about the County Land Management Board, we have posted a secretary to the County Land Management Board, but he is unable to work very effectively because he doesn't have the board members yet. We interviewed the board members. We nominated them as part of the interviews, and we have sent the list to the county government. We are waiting for the county assembly to pass the names so that we can inaugurate them and they can start work. Why they have not been inaugurated yet, and where we are with that, Groots have done. I'm actually going about identifying where those public lands are, and their status right now, as far as these reports are concerned, will go a very long way in assisting both the county governments and the National Land Commission to go after those. So it is not going to be the National Land Commission headquarters that will be giving out notices and going after all those grab pieces of land all over the country. We have to devolve those activities and those functions to the county levels, and that's why we have
the county level was posted to Kiambu. Secretary was posted to the Kiambu County, and we will accorded some space to operate from. But he cannot operate alone. He requires to have the board members along with him. It is also true the interviews were done, and the shortlisting and the interviews were done, and there are few processes remaining. I do not know exactly what may have kept that from happening, but definitely there could be some few issues that I may not be privy to that are not yet addressed. So the process is still on, and we look forward to work very closely once we have the board in place.
Rural, but as far as the Lari sub-county has known the public land, how will the county government of Kiambu acknowledge the grassroots women who have done a very tremendous job to make sure to map the public land? How will the county government empower? So far as the Groots Kenya has done their part, what is the plan for the county government to continue or to make memorable for such grassroots women? To the land commissioner, this is a very nice strategy so that we can map our lands through the grassroots people. How will you make sure that whatever we map at the grassroots level will not go missing, or will not take very long, like the Dongo report and other things. As far as I come from a community where the people cannot differentiate between public land and community land, because 69% of Laikipia County is live in ranches, whereby the community, the people down there, will not differentiate between public land and community land. How will you make guarantees that whatever we do in the grassroots level will secure the public lands in Kenya? Thank you.
On the issue of, I think that one lies in agriculture. Though we have identified that land that is public land, most of that land has been grabbed. We are engaging farmers on the issue of value addition. We have engaged farmers on the issue of banana culture. We had a meeting at Lari, I think last week, but one, and we are trying to enlighten farmers on upgrading the issue of banana farming and modern banana farming. On the issue of milk, we are doing kuras for various sub-counties, for Lari and for Gatodo. I think there are kuras approved in the budget, so that these farmers can be able to store their milk before they take it to the market. On the issue of slaughterhouses or abattoirs, we have upgraded, or we are upgrading abattoirs. For example, the one at Kabete is one that this organization or these abattoirs, for example, the one at Kabete had been grabbed, or it's kind of those who were operating, and they are operating under the government. They were kind of, whenever they slaughter cows and goats and all that, they are putting all the money into their pocket. So we are upgrading the abattoirs and improving the issues of packaging of meat. We are also engaging farmers by construction of dams in the forests, so that when it's during the dry season, for example, the way it was from January up to now, the farmers will be able to have irrigation, water for irrigation, and continue with their farming. So we are engaging farmers. And with the coming up of the county government, we will be able to engage more and more and listen to people like the lady is talking about, and hear maybe on what we don't know, so that we can be able to liaise with you and move ahead. On the issue, now coming to the commission, I think on the issue of repossessing land, we have the Groots Kenya started with the Lari, and they started with my ward, and I believe that to be seen as if the Land Commission is working, I think what you should do is start with Nyandoma ward. This is where they started, by identifying public land. Let's not wait for establishing structures, land board and all that. Come to Nyandoma, let us repossess land that is grabbed, and they will be seen to be working. We have 40 acres that is lying bare. That land was grabbed by someone who was a judge, and we need that land to do some development. And he grabbed that land with several friends of his. So we need that land to be repossessed, and the other lands that are lying there. Thank you.
When the land is grabbed, and we the people know that it is grabbed, what do? Do we ask Mr. Waitito to come and throw stones? Or you said you can put up a dispensary? And I want to tell you that in my place, what we did is we found that people had grabbed cemetery, and we built a chief's camp there together with the AP's post. We were taken to court, we were defeated, and given an injunction to remove everything. This happened last year, and in fact we have tried to get to every office. We have come to the county, we have come to the National Land Commission. In fact, even we have gone to the court. We missed money to do that because we are just a bunch of villagers. And after that, we went to the Committee on Administrative of Justice, which says Munyonge and Haki. We have not gotten anything. And therefore, I'm wondering, what is the purpose of knowing this is your thing, and there is no way you can take it back?
We ladies, the lay ladies, the men of Kenyans,
they own the title deeds. How about the ladies, especially in the Moi Basin? When we come to the point of compensation, the male will get the compensation. How about the ladies and their children? And they will be shipped to an unknown area where we don't know. So, our land commissioner, bear in mind, the ladies elsewhere in Kenya, they don't have to own the title deeds. The second point I have, we are talking of the secure and the safeguarding of our public lands. Let's talk down there, Nikiti County, where those communities will be led to somewhere. And we have those public lands, like schools, we have churches, and we are in all the public lands. The measures we have there will be there transferred to where the community will be taken to. So, for the land commissioner, I'll secure for that, for the transforming the land from where it is, because we have to move. For the process of mining will start either tomorrow or the other days are stored for another day, we don't know. But thanks for the Groots Kenya, because we have the cattle, which we don't have the value. We don't know whether it has 3 legs or not. So the next day, when they are coming down, we are going to have the land mapping. So to have a cattle which we can take to the market and be compensated. So thanks.
Okay. The first one is on unblocking of land in Lari, specifically in areas of Kenali and some parts of Kiambu ward where people do not have green cards. What process? How far are we? Because this is one of the catalysts to grabbing, even now, private land. The next question, or question number 2, is on the issue of compensation. Grabbing of public land, in most cases, is cleverly hidden as compensation. Because we need an access road somewhere, now the people of Kamboro go to Nyandoma and identify the stadium so that those people who gave the access road can be compensated, so to speak, with a stadium in Nyandoma ward. What process, or what is the right process that is supposed to be followed so that people are compensated in the right way?
All those processes, including
because on so many matters, they might give a lot of promises here, and they will never happen because without the goodwill, especially on the side of the executive, because sometimes it is holding us so much on so many things you can hear, is that we are urging the government to heed to the pleas of the people of Kiambu so that we can hit the ground running, because 2 years down the line is a lot of time with nothing so much to show on the ground, especially on matters we are talking about, value addition, whatever we have. We are urging the government to hear our praise and the representative of the people, because we might be very good at lip service. We come, we talk, we promise, and they are just promises which we will have nowhere. So, as a member of County Assembly from Lari, I believe that whatever we should look for is for that political goodwill, especially on the side of the executive, because I've been so much available, Madam. And you know that we have worked together as members of County Assembly, but on the other side, we have not seen a lot of things happening. So that is our urge, and whatever we are pleading with them, they should hear us now. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Groots has done a wonderful job, I must say. You have trained future trainers. The people, the women you have trained in Lari will not only be training others in the bigger, larger Kiambu County, but I think in the rest of Kenya they will find out everything is going on. You have prepared the groundwork for us as an inventory for public land, which we are going to inherit. But once you have had the inventory in place, now you start worrying about how to protect it. You must think about how to protect that so that we don't go back to where we came from. It changes. It's not that you get into hills or into valleys, but you just get from one badly planned neighborhood to the next. I think Muranga, you keep that repetition, you improve on it further. I think a lot of other things will come in the questions that will be coming, and I will be prepared to answer them, and I know a lot of them will be thrown in this direction.
But now when you lead, it is led by the committee members, then it's a whole new ball game together, because no one will come and say that these people were motivated by any other agents apart from the interest of safeguarding their country. And no other politician, no other government person, no other civil society will say this is not our game. But the end of it all is that what we have heard is that it is only the communities that will have the final word in terms of fighting for safeguarding this land. This is very crucial. That when you pass somewhere, you know this is a public place that was grabbed. It is very crucial that you go safeguarding it. More than that. So we are very happy for that. I will, before we go for tea.
One way to demonstrate that we understand public participation is ensuring that wherever we are doing the inventory of public land, that process will be led by grassroots community. So we negotiated and we've been talking to the National Land Commission to think through how do we give accreditation to the women and the men of Lari who have been doing this work, so that if you send them to Marsabit, then there is an understanding they can do the job. And we can test their capacity. We do know that there is a possibility to strengthen this. Dr. Kuria has told us it needs to be strengthened, but we would like to see an appreciation of the Kenya government on why public participation matters by allowing experts, community experts, to be part of the process. So we hope that we can continue that discussion. We are also looking at Kiambu County. Thank you, Mr. Gatimo. We think it is one thing to do a model in one constituency. I think the Member of Parliament, you must be very happy. You have all the land now published for you for free. Moving forward, it is not right to use wholly donor money to map the rest of the country. The sub-county of Kiambu should be able to actually put money. And we can complement. We can go looking for money. I'm sure many donors would be happy to complement a process where the other government is also putting money. Of course, the MCA of Kiambu, the members of County Assembly, we've been dialoguing with them since last year. They have already put a motion to the member of the Kiambu County. We now want them to move to the legislation. How do we support the Kiambu County to have a legislation that actually demands we do now public land mapping in Kiambu County? And of course, we are hoping that we have people here from Muranga. We already have started a dialogue. Actually, one of the things I'm very impressed about Muranga County. Tell us you don't have money to help us. First of all, show us how to do it. Then we can think about where to get the money. So we are in that dialogue with Muranga County to trade how this works. Thank you, Muranga. We hope we can work together. We also hope that we have had official requests from 2 other counties. Kakamega County actually have put through an official request. I know the governor of Nakuru has asked us, but we are very clear. We did a model which we discussed with the National Land Commission so that they can uptake it and so that it can be part of the standards and they're called standards and what? Where is standards? Standards and guidelines that they are developing. And they've been very kind enough. Last week they invited us to present this so that it can be part of their standards and guidelines in developing public land. Of course, I can see a lot of our partners are not here, but there are many civil society here. We are also embracing, I know some of you, our brothers and sisters in this work. We hope that this is a way to demonstrate how can we work in a way that the communities are leading the process. So we do hope that, especially when we do that with the civil society, and also particularly we needed LSK to be here, because it's been always very contentious, asking how can communities map that? We want also a professional institution to also embrace public participation. Understand that if they work alongside the community can be very, it can be possible. I know LDGI and ISK has been part of us, and we will be exploring the discussion. How can communities get technical support from professional institutions? And now we are calling from here. And how does it, a new way of working between communities and professional institutions, so that when Mr. Gatimo said that a lot of this has been done because professionals have also not been accountable, how can they work together with the community so that it's not professionals alone and then communities suffer? So that we think this is a way to move forward. And then the last and not the least is that we think that to do the amount of mobilizing that we have done, and organizing, telling about the land reform, ensuring that people do work, we know that not all the counties that may have the resources. So we will be going to some of the partners who have resources to complement some of the counties that will be willing to do this model. And of course, we'll be reaching out to them. We've been grateful to have the Embassy of Sweden wholly support this project through the Lasirimari facility, Changia Lasirimari facility that also has resources from UK8, and the facility is managed by ACT. So we are hoping they'll be here. I hear they have another meeting, but they had said they would be here. So that is the way.
Officer Gatimo, you're here to protect the land and to get it back to belong to the community from the grabbers. The National Commission is a national commission that covers the whole country. It was supposed to be devolved to the counties, and to my understanding, we were supposed to have what you call the county land management boards at every county.
It goes to Lari MP. We love you because you are our neighbor. Can you please call on board our MPs so that we can work well with you and for the sake of our county? Thank you.
Okay, that's a good question. Can you have...
My question goes to the NLC Commissioner. I would just like to know what the Commission is planning to do to ensure that grabbed land is repossessed.
Forgot that somebody has reminded that you can react on that.
Stakeholders. So if you're selling agricultural land, start with the agricultural ministry. Let them give you consent that you can actually divide that land. And that consent will come with it to the county land management board. But in relation to this, I think I've come late, but I've learned a lot. To Groots, what I'm just asking, please, Kakamega, you know, have sugar problem, what not? When are you coming to help us? And what are the budgetary implications? So that even as I go, I will tell my governor, this is what I learned. For one constituency alone, it matters this much. So for the next financial year, this is what you need to plan. Because they are willing, but they don't know the roadmap.
Oh, thank you. Very important information. Very, very important.
So many fraudsters would acquire such an instrument, and since they know it is bad, charge it and leave it there. So when the bank is coming to auction it, will he be here? So those are some of the things we need to look against so that we are not fooled. And then the final one is promoting and encouraging people to come together as cooperative groups, so that whenever you are carrying out something as a group, you are more hard than an individual. That needs to be encouraged as much as possible. Groots, Lari, Kakamega, if you are coming out on any issue, please come in as groups. It's easy. Consultations is about that. Evolution is about that. People being heard and being listened. Thank you.
Asante sana. Pass it over. Thank you so much.
I think for me, what I'll say is that for every right, there is
there should be a responsibility. And I think with the example Groots has set with the communities they worked in, that showcase a very good, a very good model of for every right comes in a responsibility. The people have gone ahead and done this, meaning that there is no that ringtone which Kuria was saying, naomba serikali, naomba serikali. Instead, you've done it the other way. You showcase to that serikali or to the institution that this can be done and it can be done so quickly. And I think that is a good example. And also, in terms of trying to look at the accountability and transparency of our institution. So that is set, and I think it should relate and also relate to so many other in this country.
Communities can be bigger and can be more powerful than the government of the day. And I think that is the responsibility we should take. So I would say that in moving forward, and I found it well affirmed here, is that to the national and the county leaders here, please, let's really appreciate the public participation, community leadership, so that even our work becomes easy.
There has been a failure on the side of the government. We have lacked political goodwill because most of the grabbing has been done by people in government. They're the ones who have been grabbing land, either in the county councils or in the national government. They're the ones who have been taking this land. So it is now from that point that Groots Kenya now comes in, because after realizing that probably there is no goodwill, political goodwill from the government, then we get involved as the communities, so that now we can say we want to safeguard this land because we want to make use of it in future, grab or whatever is public land. But I think when the DCC and everybody else, we need to go a step further and make sure that the public, everybody, let's talk about 100%, all our people are aware that this is public land. So anybody encroaching on the same, it is the public that is going to protect. Because again, as we said, lack of goodwill from the government, the councils then, probably the county government now, we may get back into the same problem. Let me also thank my people, the people of Lari who got involved, the women who got involved in this. I think you have shown a very good example. You have really shown that we can make it. Something that was mentioned about County Land Management Board. It is my darling, because it has given me problems in Kenari. And my friend here was telling the commissioner, I think you read the National Land Act, and he's telling the commissioner that in consultation, the National Land Commission and the county governments are supposed to work together. And the commissioner, the CS in charge of land is sitting on some of these laws, because we actually need to have them in place so that the boards that we have, the sub-counties now, we can be able to stop using them and start using, following the law as it is. So let me end there by saying thank you very much, Groots Kenya, for coming to Lari. And as I've said, we are there as the people of Lari. Tumeiva, tuko tayari. We want to work with the others. We want to show them how it's done. And my people from Lari, let us not be just another
interviews. As for the reports that are there, and Jonjo and Dungu reports, and what they say, they have identified a lot of public lands that have been grabbed, and they have given recommendation what to do with them. We are following on those. If you have seen, we have got notices going out very frequently to review all those grants. It's not only that those that appear in Njonjo and Ndungu reports that we are reviewing, because Section 14 of the National Land Commission Act actually says we must review all grants and dispositions. And the reason that is done is because a lot of people, a lot of land and parcels that have not even come up in the Ndungu and Njonjo reports have actually, a lot of them that have not appeared in there have also been grabbed. And since the two reports came out, much more grabbing has also taken place. And land grabbing is a continuous process. It is going on right now. As we sit here and talk about them, someone somewhere is grabbing land or planning to grab one. Grab land, and so it is really, really vital that we establish this board so that it can start functioning.
Okay, thank you. And I don't know, I saw 2 months ago, I think you re-advertised for the board in Kiambu. Does that mean that you never got people in the first one? Because I think there was re-advertisement in Kiambu. Okay. Okay, it was. Okay. Mr. Gachamo?
Thank you very much for coming out very clearly. Yes, land in Kiambu goes like hotcakes. Hotcakes. It is true. And mostly it comes done illegally. Some plots actually are not even subdivisible. And we're making attempts to, as much as possible, communicate to the population that there's some land that has not gone through the legal process. There are those documents that you need to lay your hands on to be sure that land has been properly subdivided. We've also been in touch with the various players within the process of land management. For instance, we've communicated with the various land boards to tell them they should not transact on any land unless it is received a clean bill of health from the county government. For instance, if someone is subdividing a piece of land into plots that are so small and are not developable, and they find their way to the land board, it should be rejected at that point, because we have so many people who are buying land and getting ownership documents, but when you attempt to develop it, as per the requirements of the building code, you are not able to do so.
The question from Frida on issues of the land that has already been identified and has been grabbed. Let me say that we are working very well with the administration. We have our DCC here and the chiefs on the ground. And some of the things that have happened so far through what has been done by Groots Kenya, you find that in areas like Magena, I think Chief Gatungu is here. Yes, he's just sitting next to you. He can confess that there were roads that had been grabbed, and today those roads have been cleared. They're being used by the public. We also have the Magena dispensary, which I think that had already been grabbed, but we have been able to put up a dispensary on the land. And we are looking into other areas. For example, Gashoire, I see the Assistant Chief here. We are looking for land to put up an office and a dispensary for Gashoire location. And we'll identify some of the land that we have in that area. And definitely we are going to put up the building, just to tell them that this is public land. We have Chief Kamai here. Yes, Mr. Karanja sitting next to you. He can confess that we are putting up a dispensary. Indeed, I, together with the National Commission, we have been taken to court by somebody who is claiming that land where we are putting up the dispensary at Gadwarira, but we are not relenting. We are there. We are putting up the building, and in about 2 months' time, we'll be opening that dispensary for use by the public. So we'll use whatever means to make sure that this land reverts to the communities.
Asante, just this positivity. Next there.
Is required of them. The spatial plan is a very broad framework that identifies the potentials and the challenges that the county has in as far as the resources are concerned. And maybe just to map it out very quickly, you'll find there are some sections of Kiambu County that are very productive in terms of agriculture. There are some that are arid or semi-arid that can be given yet an opportunity to realize their full potential. And I can draw two very quick parallels of two sub-counties that are on the extreme ends. Lari and Juja, for instance, are two different counties that have, in terms of potential, that have very different kind of potentials. Lari and the upper side of the county has a lot of agricultural potential. So the spatial plan takes care of that. If you look into the Juja side, you'll find it's semi-arid and can be good for industrial and maybe even residential development. We also look into other potentials that are available, like transportation. Lari, Limuru, and the northern corridor, where we have Juja and Thika, they have very good transportation networks, both road and railway. How best can we be able to put those infrastructure already in place into better use? So that is what the spatial looks into. But remember, as I said earlier, now that we have the spatial plan almost to the end, we are going into the detailed plans for the towns. One of the towns that has already gone very far in terms of planning is Thika, and this has been done through the collaboration of the national government, Ministry of Land, Housing and Urban Development, under the Kenya Municipal Program. We have 5 other towns whose planning is just about to begin. Actually, consultations are already in place under the NAMSIP program, that is a World Bank program. And this includes Ruiru, Karuri, Limuru, and Kikuyu. You've come from Ruiru, maybe I can dwell on Ruiru. For your information, Ruiru harbors the highest population in Kiambu County. It is the most urbanized town. Actually, many people mistakenly think that Kiambu or Thika is the most urbanized. Ruiru alone has more than 250 million, 250,000 residents. And this is one area that is receiving a lot of attention as far as detailed planning is concerned. And with respect to your question about how funding or allocation is going to be done, the county government is a respecter of the views of the people. And this process is going to be as inclusive as possible, participative. And the consultant, including the government officials, are going to contact the stakeholders, yourselves included, to hear you, to listen to what people are feeling on the ground, and of course a plan that is going to be developed will be reflecting the aspirations of the people of Ruiru on the ground. And then there's this question from John Namonto about acknowledging and appreciating or empowering women on the grassroots. It's not only women, but also the youth. We need to appreciate that the national government has set aside some funds, ways of fund, amongst other things. But activities or whatever these groups are going to look into must happen in some space. All what requires these groups to put themselves together, come up with viable options or programs that they can be able to undertake. And that's the only way they can be empowered, because results have to come out of the work they're doing. And a good example is what has been done by Groots. The results can be seen. The impact actually can be felt. So those are things that you can say, the example that Groots has set can be replicated by other groups that are having that kind of a special consideration, the youth and the women.
In Kiambu, and that might be replicated elsewhere in the country. First of all, I must say that whatever Groots has done, and I was just talking to some of the people as we took tea outside there, the information has been gathered. I was interested even in how that information itself was gathered, and whether it was comprehensive and complete or not, how accurate it can be, or whether there is anything that might have been forgotten or left out. But I think all that will come out in the special plan that the county is doing, and in the detailed plan that will also follow after that for each particular location or towns. Then as you draw maps and incorporate all this information on one platform, then you will be able to see where there is duplication, where there is overlap, where there is a gap, or where chunk of areas have been forgotten or not, in all that. It will come out very well. Now, as far as using that information is concerned, we definitely will use it. We are developing a National Land Information Management System, and the manager of the project, that program is David Kuria, Dr. David Kuria, right there, who works for the National Land Commission. He is working very hard to establish a platform on which all that information that is being gathered by the counties will be thrown into, and then the detailed plans that will be coming in the survey that the counties will carry out will be put on there too, and then everything will be very visible and online, and be available online in a very interactive kind of map that the Groots have demonstrated on a much larger scale for every town and every county in this country. Let me say one thing here very quickly. This is very important, even especially for the county government to know. We have talked about the National Land Information Management System for a very long time. Husna from KLA has this mentioned in her presentation too, that it has not been done up to now. It is a shame that we have taken more than 20 years to establish that system. It is also very interesting to note that some neighboring countries, like for example Rwanda, has a working National Land Information Management System, and guess what? The experts they used the technology they used, the persons they used to put up that system for them are all Kenyans. So if we can do it for our neighbors at a fee, why can't we do it for ourselves right here? I think the reason is very simple. We just don't want to do it. And the reason why we don't want to do it is because a lot of people will want to hide what they have grabbed and their positions of authority. They don't want it to be demonstrated. They can keep the hard records and paper records, and they can be hidden for a very long time. But once we have a platform like that, interactive one, it will become very glaring and very open. That is why we don't want to have it, and that's what we should, as a government and as a people, want to do it. And the place to begin with is with the county governments. We talked about land boards. Somebody mentioned something about the land control boards. You know, ideally, and according to the laws that now already exist, those boards should not even be there. They should be answered. Whatever is there, the county land management board should take its place right away, and the counties should be managing their lands through that. Right now, as it has always been, the land control boards are still there, but they don't even answer to the county governments. So there is a parallel system going on, and it is very dangerous. And the boards are still meeting, very illegally actually, because even their membership has expired a long time ago, but they are still meeting. And when they still meet, they will continue approving subdivisions, they will continue giving numbers, and they will register it because the registration is under them, not under the county, not under the National Land Commission. So there is a very dangerous parallel system going on. Here we are, the county governments and the National Land Commission, trying to fix problems. And here is another set of people continuing increasing the problem. So we need to come to this, and I think it is up to the county governments to stand up and protect what is truly their assets.
Thank you. Paradox over time. Asante. Mheshimiwa, umeulizwa tutajenga kibanda lini kule cha matunda.
Thank you very much. Remind me your name, please.
Nelias.
Nelias, yes. Thank you, Nelias, for your question. You talked about the fruits, and indeed, those who are not from Lari, Lari is a very productive sub-county. We have a lot of fruits, vegetables, and all. Now, on your question on the issue of value addition of the various fruits that we produce yearly, when I came into office, the first thing that I did together with the DCC was to look into a way of partnering with KILDI, Kenya Industrial Research Development Institute, in KILDI, whatever it means. And we held several meetings in Lari, in my office, and the idea was that KILDI normally does what they call incubation. They invite people, either individually or as groups, to go there because they make all the machines that will be able to help us to make juice, to dry maybe even our kales, and packaging them for export and all that. And when we started the process, we actually formed what we call Lari Industrialization Company Limited, which has already been registered. We have directors from all over Lari, and ideally all we wanted to do was to start something, to start some industries where we can be able to do value addition for our fruits and even the vegetables that we are producing. We have been a bit slow on that because one thing they wanted to do a feasibility study. We're also going to get involved on the issue of milk because most of our cooperatives have kind of collapsed, and we're going to involve them in giving us what we call coolers for our various cooperative societies where they can be able to store their milk before they sell it to the other producers. The process has been slow, but it's something that I'm actually working on, and I can assure you, the people from Lari, that in the short term, either we are going to involve groups who are going to be taught how to make the juices. We are going to see how they are going to get the machines to do the same. That is all from KILDI because it's a government parastatal, and they're willing to partner with us so that we can be able to work on that. So for now, the process is there, a bit slow, but eventually we'll get there. I don't know if there's anything from the county.
Asante.
From my MCAs.
MCA, I think that you had, this question was enjoyed.
The ongoing titling process or survey process which is one of the manifesto of the government of the day, processing 3 million titles. Where does, like now this process applies? Because they've identified public land, but where are they surveying? Which land are they surveying? And which land will they allocate? Because even adjudication, I think, is going on. I think Mui Basin is happening right now. So are you aware of what happens? Are people involved?
Let me start with the one that Hosna has just asked about. He's talking about the National Titling Center, I suppose, that was opened recently. There's a little bit of confusion exactly what that center is all about, what it's supposed to do. Might have been very well intentioned, but it might have been slightly misguided. Maybe it would have been done a little bit differently. You know, when you have one center that is issuing titles for everywhere else in this country, you are not talking about devolution, are you? This looks like the reverse of devolution. Whatever it is, aims and objectives, I can just tell you what they are doing there. As you know, many years ago, after independence, there was a program by government to adjudicate land, consolidate land, settle people. People have come back from the forests, so they want to settle. They have lost pieces of land. They want to be resettled once more. They have left a piece here and a piece on the hill and a piece somewhere else. So they consolidate those and put them one. They don't have papers for where they have ancestrally been farming, so it becomes an adjudication process. All those things went on throughout the country, and especially in areas where people have settled and have farmed, especially in Central Province mostly, and to a lesser extent in both Rift Valley and Coast and many parts of Eastern, especially around Monte Kenya. But then that process, which should have been a project, you know, something that should have started and ended quickly. Actually, the initial program was it should not last more than 10 years. But people, because have got employment and they are working there, they have turned that thing into a lifelong career. They have refused to wind up the project. So it remained permanently as a department in the Ministry of Lands and Settlement, the process of land adjudication and settlement. So, as they did work, which was very tedious, which was laborious, which was going to be involving local people and disputes between brothers and family members, it was torturous. In some places like Meru, there was even continuous subdivision as people try to identify who owns what. All those processes, including air photographs taken from by planes to try to fasten that process, and having the lists and trying to at the same time manage who should take over what if someone dies. Those things just stalled and couldn't move. So what happened was a backlog that has lasted for many, many years for people who cannot get titles because the process is not complete. And the law was structured at that time in such a way that if there is one person still complaining from the whole scheme, then the whole scheme will not move ahead. It will just wait for those disputes to be resolved. So that will be holding back the process of land registration. Then the law changed a little bit later on, and it said, if these two cannot agree, leave them behind and continue moving. I think this was done not very long time ago. So they went back to the archives, dug up all those records, and brought them out to Nairobi, and they're trying to finish that process. So what the National Titling Center is doing right now, or did a few months ago, is to try to finish that backlog of the things that have been going on for a very long time, which is a good thing. Did it have problems? Yes. What kind of problems? Inheritances have not been finalized. Subdivisions have since been carried out, so the information is not correct. So the titles coming up in wrong names and wrong anchorages and this kind of thing will be there. But that is maybe problems that can be solved as time goes, and if majority of them are okay, then we go ahead. So that is what the National Title Center is all about. I don't know what they will do when they run out of the records, but that is what it is all about. So it has nothing to do with the administration and subdivision of public land per se. It is all about community land, all about the adjudication, and that's where things are. But for that kind of process even to be very efficient and to be as accurate as possible, I think it is always good for the ministry to involve the county governments and the National Land Commission to finish that process. Because ideally, it is no longer even their function to do those things. To deal with community land, that is the county government's job. To deal with public land, that is the county and the National Land Commission. To deal with private leases, that is up to the owners to know what they do with their land. So basically, I don't know what the ministry is, but if they have the capacity to finish the backlog, maybe we can support them in that. When it comes to, these are several questions for me, so
you can summarize them.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah. The lady over there.
The lady over there asked about ladies not holding title deeds and securing and safeguarding public land. That's definitely, it is no longer an accepted practice that ladies should not hold titles. Actually, it is in law that they have the right, just like any other citizen, to own land, and it is up to the institutions that will be processing titles to make sure that that happens. And who owns what land will depend on how the families themselves arrange it, but then there should be no discrimination against one category of persons. The green cards, especially in, we're talking about Kenari? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, about that. There are disputes in that area. A lot of the schemes there have got a lot of disputes. I think double allocations and all that, and a lot of cases have come to us, and we are under very difficult circumstances because we don't have access to records. As you know, we are unable to move forward very much, and that's one more reason that we will appeal to the county government and the establishment of the board, the County Land Management Board. And then when the county governments become really empowered and turn their attention from the other politics and everything else back to focusing on the management of their biggest asset, which is land, I think we will be going ahead to try to solve those disputes between people and then unblock the cautions that are on those titles so people can use their titles. Nyanduma, grabland. You should give us the list of all the grabland that you are aware of. If it is not already on a map that has been prepared by Groots, maybe if it is outside that area, we will be happy to deal with that. What Mombasa County has done is to put all those public lands that has been grabbed together in one list and brought it to us. So if the Kiambu County can do that too, then between them and us, we can sit down and carry out the reviews of those grants actually in Kiambu itself, not in Nairobi, but in Kiambu or in Thika, wherever is suitable, so that we can take care of that in a wholesale kind of manner.
Thank you. Do you have a question and a reaction from the panelists?
Thank you. Maybe I can help the Commission on that. Indeed, the National Land Commission had written letters, one to the county government, asking them to make sure there are no land dealings in Kenari, or to visit Kenari starting January this year so that they can be able to sort out the matters. As the Commissioner has rightly said, the failure by the county government to form the the County Land Management Board has hampered that process. But we did talk with Commissioner Dr. Konyimbi and other commissioners, and we are in agreement that in the absence of the County Land Management Board, they may allow us to have a committee to deal with Kenari issues as they were. And the last time I heard, Commissioner, was that a lady by the name Jamwea Masi had been given the responsibility to facilitate, to form the committee, facilitate so that it can be able to move to Kenari. But then after that, I had other issues. I don't know how far they have gone. But it's something that I'm following up. And I think soon the commission will be coming to Penari so that we can be able to sort out the matter. But if the county government was able to come in, form the board, I think a number of issues, even others in Anma, which is in Kiambu, I think we are not able to move because the board is not in place. And it's good to note that countrywide, it's only Kiambu, Nairobi and Mombasa where this has not been formed, although Mombasa they advertised the other day, so we can actually say Kiambu and Nairobi. All the others have boards in place. So yes, those who are here from the Kiambu county government, kindly talk to the big man so that we can be able to move.
Okay, thank you, Mheshimiwa. So we are coming to the end of this section, but I promised Mheshimiwa hapa ataongea kidogo. I mean, just a comment. And then if you have the last question, you can write it down.
In the current land law also, Land Act also, it says some ways of people getting allocated is through equal exchange of one piece of land for another. That can be abused, I know that for sure. If someone says, I provide access for, if there is any reason for any private property to be acquired by government to provide access for public purpose, then the government should pay for that access, and then nothing else should happen. You can negotiate, it's compulsory acquisition, it will be valued, and the value of that portion of land which has been acquired for public purposes, not for private use, but for public use, will be compensated. If there is any other public land available, public land that has not been reserved for any particular use. You see, when it is a stadium or a school or a hospital or even an open space or a park or a cemetery, it is public land that has been reserved for those purposes, for those exact uses, nothing else. So it cannot be excised for private use anymore. But there will be other public lands that the county would have identified that are available for allocation, for the expansion of town or for industrial development or for residential use or for anything like that, which the county then will ask the National Land Commission to manage the process or administer the process of allocation. Then that person could be considered for allocation in that kind of environment, not to excise a piece of another public land for that purpose. Land Control Act will go away, the Land Adjudication Act will go away, all those will go away. But now they are there, they are slightly in conflict, and that is the lacuna which is being used by, say, the ministry for that matter, to continue doing what it was doing. But even that, they are not even managing it very well, because they are not reappointing the members of that control boards. The membership is written in law, but what it has reduced to right now, I think, is only the registrar and the surveyor and the DC? Yeah, the DC or the DCC or whatever the new title is. And if it's only the three of them sitting and deciding on the process of the land control process, then it becomes a little bit illegal because even the composition is not complete. But in the absence of anything else, we'll just close our eyes and continue using it. So just use them while they're there. But make sure the county government is aware, there is fees to collect, there is approvals and comments from them to be done, and if they are ignored, you might complete a process that might be challenged in the future. So loop them in, get them involved. And then we'll talk about working with Groots, and then about grabland. Someone said then what to do then and how to protect them. I think I've said that earlier. As soon as the land has been identified to be public, it belongs to the county government. It's up to the county government to plan or prepare plans on how they should look like and what their use should be, to survey them, because that is also their function, and then together with us help them in the process of either leasing it to that particular management body for use, and then to register it. This is something that we have to do, and we make sure that whatever we have registered gets registered as it is, and whatever we have together agreed to revoke gets revoked and expunged from records as it should be. Because sometimes that's also very difficult. to manage. I think I've said.
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Somebody is coming from the Kiambu County and she would like to make a comment as well, in addition to what you have said.
Good afternoon. That is my commissioner. My name is Caroline Haswa. I work as a secretary to the County Land Management Board. That is the devolved unit of the National Land Commission. I had a question and Madam Groots decided to give me an opportunity to say something because of I'm really experiencing it. So my question was in regards, maybe I can comment on the issue of consent. We are also facing that challenge, and as the commissioner has said, if you look at the new land legislations, they talk about land use control, be it for agricultural purpose or for urban development. Now there are two laws. The urban cities, which replaced the old Local Government Act, guides urban development. And then we have the Agriculture Act, but the Land Act itself provides that each county, in consultation with the agriculture minister, shall come up with guidelines to manage the agricultural land, so that whatever you do in Nairobi cannot be the same as what is done in Kajiado and Mombasa. So for you to get consent to milk your land, you have to agree with the agricultural land use guidelines for that county. And also, if you look at the constitution, there's a provision which prevents continuous subdivision of land into an economical portions, so that if the land board gives you authority to milk your land by dividing it into an economical portion, when that approval for land use comes before the County Land Management Board, we will not approve it because it will be destroying the agricultural land in that area. So that is something which people have not known. And that is why the commissioner is saying you have to loop in all the stakeholders. So if you're selling agricultural land, start with the agricultural ministry. Let them give you consent that you can actually divide that land. And that consent will come with it to the County Land Management Board. But in relation to this, I think I've come late, but I've learned a lot. To Groots, what I'm just asking, please, Kakamega, you don't have sugar problem, what not? When are you coming to help us? And what are the budgetary implications? So that even as I go, I will tell my governor, this is what I learned. For one constituency alone, it matters this much. So for the next financial year, this is what you need to plan. Because they are willing, but they don't know the roadmap.
Oh, thank you. Very important information. Very, very important. So we are going to give the panelists the final, to make their final remarks. Just less than a minute. Thank you. Starting with CC Kiambu.
Chief Officer Kiambu.
Sorry.
I'll just pick up from what she said. There are so many things that we need to cover. We have to cover a lot of ground. And she's mentioned very clearly, some of the institutions and the laws that we are having, we are not making use of them. And it's also good to be very clear. There are some laws that missed out and are still with us, and they are perpetuating the wrong things. Land board has come out very clearly. Kiambu, you have land boards. I'm given together that there are people who queue. They'll never even pay something small for the land board to transact their business because it is only a day's business. But that can cost you dearly if you do not go the wrong way and do it the right way. Secondly, it is also coming up very clearly that we have other stakeholders that we have not involved. And I'm taking from the lady who spoke about consent to charge. The instrument that you hold as a title is very useful. Many people would like to use it as collateral. There are other institutions we need to rope in here, financial institutions, to understand what are these processes. Because there are so many fraudsters who acquire such an instrument, and since the note is bad, charge it and leave it there. So when the bank is coming to auction it, will it be near? So those are some of the things we need to look against there so that we are not fooled. And then the final one is promoting and encouraging people to come together as cooperative groups, so that whenever you are carrying out something as a group, you are more hard than an individual. That needs to be encouraged as much as possible. Groots, Lari, Kakamega, if you're coming out on any issue, please come in as groups. It will be easy. Consultations is about that. Devolution was about that. People being heard and being listened. Thank you.
Asante sana. Pass it over. pass it over. Thank you so much.
I think for me, what I'll say is that for every right, there should be a responsibility. And I think with the example Groots has set with the communities they wanted to, that showcase a very good model of for every right comes in a responsibility. The people have gone ahead and done this, meaning that there is no that ringtone which Kuria was saying, naomba serikali, naomba serikali. Instead, you've done it the other way. You showcase to that serikali or to the institution that this can be done and it can be done so quickly. And I think that is a good example. And also in terms of trying to look at the accountability and transparency of our institution. So that is set, and I think it should relate and also relate to so many others in this country.
Thank you. Mine is on the Transition Authority. The Transition Authority, knowing very well that a public land department or section of the lands is 100% devolved. And if you go to the records, you find that they are yet to transfer that function to the county government. Because if you go for the records, the register, to know the assets of the lands being held by now the county government, trustee of the public, they won't give because they don't have it. And the other issue is the acquiring of this document. Well, that is from the commissioner, the national commissioner of the county land management board offices. I think now it will be a bit easier, and I will request the commissioner, whom we have here today, can they come up with a policy that will reduce the bureaucracies, that is having so many levels, that is the notification, allotment, plus other few letters before you get a lease, so that people can acquire leases and have the legal documents, so that they can really own let's say the parcels of land or the plots. Because that if you have an allotment letter or a notification letter, it is prone for double allocation or even being grabbed. Because if you don't develop your plot, then it will be grabbed. And also they give a deadline of developing that plot, not just to keep the plot there without developing, or the land there without developing. I mean, because the county government or even the national government is not earning money or revenue out of that. Thank you very much.
Asante.
Okay, mine will be very brief. I must say that I'm impressed, Madam, by the motivation that Groots Kenya has actually brought up from the people that it has communicated with or even liaised with. Now, what I'd like to mention is Groots Kenya and other relevant bodies would like legislated with at the county level. So I think it is important for even Groots Kenya to build the capacity of individuals. I must say that I'm not an expert in land, so it would be fruitless if I just take a law that maybe will not see the light of day. So I need to have a lot of capacity in terms of getting to get the right information of the kind of laws that needs to be put in place in terms of at the county levels. Then we also need to mobilize all the members, like you did the other day at Brackenhurst. That was very important. And we also need to mobilize the goodwill of the county executive, so that we can be able to be in tandem with each and every one of us, so that when laws are passed at the county assembly, then they also have to be assented to by the county executive. So if we do not have goodwill with both levels of the county government, we might not be able to see the laws getting to see the light of day. Then, in terms of the National Land Commission, you look at the National Land Act, Section 16. It talks about establishment of committees and county offices. So I think, Commissioner, you have a good team here that you can start establishing the committees at sub-county level. Maybe you can even start with the Lari sub-county and form a committee with the ladies who've been really worked hard with the Groots Kenya. So I think that would be very important. It would form an acknowledgement that you've really acknowledged the work that they've done, so that the work that they've done and put together in all these documents is not put to waste, like some of the people here are afraid of, so that everything goes on well. Then you know, nowadays it is very easy to point fingers, and one of the people that are always pointed fingers at is the county government. So when we look at the establishment or composition of the county land management board, it is actually the work of the commission in consultation and in cooperation with the national and county governments to establish land management boards for the purposes of managing public land. So I think all this stops with the National Land Commission. Kiambu, we do not have a land board, so land management board. So I think the National Land Commission should come up and form immediately. The National Land Commission should actually take up that role. So maybe the county government will come later when it comes to the appointment of some of the members into that commission. So I would like to say that I'm impressed by this honorable congregation and meeting, and I do hope that it is not going to stop here, that everything will be put in place, and that we shall make a better place and a better Kenya to live in. Thank you so much.
Asante. Let's hear from Esther.
Thank you. I am not the one who has the obligation to say thank you, but I want to steal a little bit of moment and say I feel very privileged and humbled by all your contribution. I am an individual that has been in this development work for close to 25 years now. And I think many of you who have also been in this work that long can actually tell things have changed. It would have been difficult 10 years ago to be seated next to senior government officials, legislators, and really to be speaking and reading from one script. And I think let's really exploit our constitution, I would say, particularly for community members. Our constitution is very clear about public participation. I think it's clear that we do have a role to participate, and I think because we also have here a lot of community members who do not have who have not come from Lari, I'd persuade you to really get interested in safeguarding your public land. And as the commissioner said, and Mr. Gatimu said, it's not about the government. It's actually about we, the people of Kenya, who require that land most desperately than other people. But sometimes I have come to places where communities want to be paid to do such work. And I think that was different in Lari. Everybody alijitolea. That is the best I can talk about the Lari community. Walijitolea, they did not care whether you pay them or not. Recently, we supported them with materials, and they visited every ward, 55 ward, with no pay. We only facilitated them with a bus fare. And I think that the spirit as communities, let's not also just bash the government institution, we do have a responsibility to do. And I think that would help us to safeguard the land. I think, Mr. Mugwe, my village mate, I don't believe that anybody ever will steal a piece of land in Lari. I'm confused. Nobody will ever. Because the amount of public awareness, over 70% of the population know about the project, they have participated, and they clearly know why it benefits. And I think that is, to me, the reason why we must have the community participate. The community will always be bigger and more influential than government officials. We cannot be bigger than the state. But a government of the day, communities can be bigger and can be more powerful than the government of the day. And I think that is the responsibility we should take. So I would say that in moving forward, and I found it well affirmed here, is that to the national and the county leaders here, please, let's really appreciate the public participation, community leadership, so that even our work become easy. I know it's hard, it's difficult, even for us, civil society. Sometimes we want to touch and go because it's cheaper, it's easier. But the other one where you want to involve for community in the way that they have been involved here, it's expensive. And it's not only expensive in terms of money, you have to really ask yourself, what change do I want to make in people's lives? I'll tell you the DCC has not been sleeping. There were times that the communities who were mapping were threatened with insecurity. He had to get out of his home, write an official letter almost at night, and give those people who were threatening to make sure that the communities who were mapping the public land were secure. It's not an easy job. It's very difficult, it's risky, it requires all of us kujitolea. For professionals, I would also encourage them, please. I hope this is also a project that ensures our professional. I'm one of the professionals. I'm trained. I'm a social planner by profession. But I also know that we need to change a little bit and appreciate also the capacities of grassroots women leaders as experts, community members as experts, and work with them. That way, whatever we do, it's going to be sustainable. For my friend from Kiambu County, you know, nowadays everything is on the internet. This project has been done for 3 years. It has costed the partners that we work with approximately 30 million. Finance manager.
Yeah, 32 million.
Yeah?
32 million.
32 million to be exact. That was the cost of doing this project. I will say a lot of it, we did not know how to proceed. So it was trial and error. We tried all over the world to find a project we would learn from. DCC, no, we were in Colombia trying to see who can we learn from. This has not been done elsewhere in the world where a community have participated in this. So there's been a lot of trial and error. So I believe it will be cheaper. We have that money also included making the guide, the step-by-step. Probably you do not need to do that. It also included setting up the inventory. Technically, you don't need that because that has been done. So I think any sub-county, what we refer as the constituency, can do good with 20 million if they really want to do a good job. And I don't think that, for me, that's a lot of money for a sub-county. If you're talking about Lari, Mheshimiwa kutafuta 20 million, I really don't think it's a lot of money, knowing what you spend. And of course, if you are doing it at one go, I'm sure it will be cheaper. But I think we can work out a budget together. And what Groots Kenya is also committing, and I hope our partners who are still there, is also, I'm sure their partners would like to complement county government resources, if then that is not available. So I would want to stop there, but also say that there are many people, we've been in conversation with, for example, the CEC of LAD in Laikipia. She called this morning, who is the head of LAD, the governor of Laikipia. I think there are a lot of people who are very much interested to proceed. So I think for the commissioner, you do have a lot of job, and I think we'll be working together from here henceforth. Thank you very much.
Asante Esther.